Welcome back to the Deep Dive, everybody, where we get to explore some seriously cool science stuff.
Always a good time, right?
Definitely. And, we always have Dr. Cameron Jones to thank for these topics he curates for us.
Absolutely. He always seems to find the most fascinating stuff.
Yeah. Like today's Deep Dive, it might sound kind of out there.
Out there, how?
Well, we're going to be looking at how sound can make fungi grow.
Oh, yeah. No, that's definitely not something you hear every day.
Right. But turns out there's some pretty wild science behind it, especially if you think about those of us worried about mold.
Absolutely. Huge implications there.
Okay. So the paper we're diving into today is called Sonic Restoration. Acoustic stimulation enhances soil fungal biomass and activity of plant growth promoting fungi.
Catchy title.
Yeah. But really what they're looking at is whether sound can actually make fungi grow better and what that could mean, for things like ecosystem restoration.
Right, or even, like you said, dealing with unwanted fungi.
Exactly. So how did they even go about testing this?
Well, they actually use some pretty clever methods.
Like what?
So they set up these mini ecosystems, basically containers filled with compost, and they called them mesocosms.
Mesocosms? Okay.
Yeah. And get this, they put tea bags in them.
Tea bags? Like Lipton or something?
Well, they used green tea and rooibos in the study.
Huh. Okay, why tea bags?
Turns out they're a great way to study decomposition.
Ah, that makes sense.
So they exposed these tea bags to different sounds for about 2 weeks.
And gee, what happened?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The tea bags that were exposed to sound at a specific frequency and decibel level, they actually grew significantly more fungi.
Like how much more?
We're talking a 30% increase in fungal biomass compared to the control group.
Wow. That's a pretty big difference.
It is. And they even described how the tea bags felt denser after being exposed to the sound. Like you could actually feel the difference.
That's wild. So it's not just like they saw more fungi under a microscope, they could actually see and feel it?
Yeah, exactly. And that's not all. They also grew a type of beneficial fungus called Trichoderma harzianum in petri dishes.
Trichoderma what now?
Trichoderma harzianum. It's a mouthful.
It is.
But it's a really cool fungus, actually. It's beneficial for plants.
Beneficial how?
Well, it basically acts like a bodyguard, protecting them from diseases and pests.
Oh, so like a superhero fungus.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could say that. And what's even more amazing is that when they exposed the superhero fungus to sound, it grew even faster and produced more spores.
Okay, so we've got tea bags getting heavier with fungi and superhero fungi getting even stronger. This is all pretty mind-blowing. But how does sound actually do this? Like, what's the mechanism at play?
Well, the researchers have a couple of hypotheses, and it gets a little technical here, but one possibility is what's called the piezoelectric effect.
The piezo what?
Piezoelectric effect. It's a mouthful.
You said it.
Yeah.
So what is that exactly?
Well, essentially, certain materials, and this includes some components of fungi, can generate an electrical charge when they're exposed to mechanical pressure. And sound waves are basically just mechanical pressure traveling through a medium like air.
So the sound waves are kind of like tiny hammers tapping on the fungi.
That's a great way to think about it. And those tiny hammers create pressure, which triggers an electrical charge in the fungi. And that could potentially be what's stimulating the growth.
Fascinating. So that's one possibility. What's the other one?
The other hypothesis involves something called mechanoreceptor stimulation.
Mechanoreceptor stimulation.
Yeah, basically all living cells, including those of fungi, have ways of sensing mechanical forces like sound waves.
So they can feel the vibrations.
You got it.
Wow.
Yeah, these mechanoreceptors, they can actually trigger changes in cell behavior, potentially leading to faster growth or spore production.
So either the sound is physically stimulating the fungi through pressure, or it's triggering a response through these internal sensors.
Exactly. And while this research is still pretty early, it opens up some seriously incredible possibilities.
Absolutely. We're talking about potentially being able to control fungal growth using sound. Imagine the implications for agriculture, or even just dealing with mold in our homes.
It's incredible, and it all starts with understanding how sound impacts these fascinating organisms.
Yeah. Who knew fungi were such good listeners?
Right, and it's not just about making fungi grow faster either.
Right, we talked about how they study that trichoderma. What was it again?
Trichoderma harzianum.
Yeah, that one. It's a beneficial fungus, right?
Yeah.
For plants?
Exactly. It's like a natural protector.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned that before. It helps to shield plants from diseases and pests.
Right. Think of it like a natural pesticide, but without all the nasty chemicals.
So no downsides.
Well, we still need to do more research, of course, but the potential is huge.
Yeah. I mean, if we could use sound to boost the effectiveness of this trichoderma stuff, that would be amazing.
Exactly. Imagine being able to just play certain sounds and amplify its growth and spore production.
Wow, and that could revolutionize how we approach agriculture.
Absolutely. We could reduce our reliance on chemical pesticides, maybe even eliminate them completely.
That would be a game changer for the environment and for human health.
For sure. And it's not just about agriculture either.
Oh yeah, what else?
Well, think about ecosystem restoration.
Okay.
We know that pollution and deforestation have had a devastating impact on our planet, right?
Yeah, sadly.
But what if we could use this technology to help repair some of that damage?
Oh.
Well, we could potentially use sound to stimulate the growth of beneficial fungi in areas that have been degraded.
Like places that have been ravaged by wildfires or contaminated by pollutants?
Exactly, those kinds of areas.
It's amazing. So it's like we could give nature a sonic boost.
Exactly. Now, it's important to remember that this research is still in its early stages.
Okay, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
But the potential is definitely there.
Yeah, it's huge. This research really opens up a whole new realm of possibility.
Absolutely. It challenges our understanding of how life responds to its environment.
And speaking of the environment, I'm curious about the specific sounds they used in this study.
Oh, yeah, that's a great question.
Like, is it just any sound that will do, or is it something more specific?
Well, that's something that researchers are still investigating.
Okay.
In this particular study, they used a monotone sound at a specific frequency and amplitude.
Huh. Interesting. And why that frequency?
They based it on previous research, but they acknowledged that more work needs to be done to determine the optimal sound parameters for different applications.
So it's not as simple as just blasting Mozart in your garden and hoping for the best.
Haha, right? Although there is something kind of intriguing about the idea of using music to enhance plant growth.
Yeah, like sonic gardening or something.
I love it.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, the way that sound interacts with the environment is incredibly complex.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And the researchers in this study actually observed that the tea bags exposed to sound became denser.
Really?
Yeah, which suggests that the sound might not just be influencing the fungal growth, but also the physical structure of the compost itself.
So it's not just about the sound itself, but also about how that sound interacts with the surrounding environment.
Exactly, and it raises a really important question.
What is that?
Well, if we're thinking about using sound for ecosystem restoration, we need to consider how those sound waves are going to travel through different types of soil.
Right, because different soils have different densities and compositions.
Exactly. So the same sound might have totally different effects depending on the environment.
That makes sense.
This research really highlights the importance of understanding all those nuances.
Yeah, it's like we're tuning into a whole new language, the language of sound and how it affects the natural world.
And who knows what other amazing things we'll discover as we keep listening. And it makes you wonder what else we're missing, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. Like we're so focused on what we can see and touch, but there's this whole other world of unseen forces that are shaping our world.
Absolutely. And sound is just one example. I mean, think about music.
Right. Music can completely change how we feel.
Exactly. But to think that sound could actually impact the growth of organisms, I mean, it's pretty wild.
It is. And
Yeah.
it really makes you think about all the sounds we're exposed to every day, like traffic noise, music, all the electronics humming around us.
Right. Could all that be affecting us in ways we don't even realize?
It's kind of a scary thought.
Well, again, if sound can affect the growth of fungi, what about all the microbes that live inside us?
Whoa. Yeah, good point. Our gut microbiome, our overall health. Could sound be playing a role?
It's definitely a possibility.
Huh. Makes you think we should be more careful about the sounds we surround ourselves with.
Absolutely. Just like we think about our diet and our physical environment, we should be paying attention to our sonic environment too.
Our sonic environment.
I like that.
It's a whole other dimension to consider.
It is. Okay, well, before we go too far down that rabbit hole, maybe we should recap what we've learned today.
Yeah, good idea.
So we started by talking about how scientists are using sound to study soil ecosystems and how we can actually hear the biodiversity in soil using special microphones.
It's like listening in on all the secret conversations happening underground. Right. And then we learned that certain sounds can actually make fungi grow faster. Both beneficial fungi, like that Trichoderma hartzianum.
It's a mouthful.
It is. But also the fungi that break down organic matter.
And this opens up all these incredible possibilities for things like ecosystem restoration, boosting agricultural productivity, even controlling unwanted fungi like mold.
And of course, we have to thank Dr. Cameron Jones for curating this fascinating topic for us.
He always finds the good stuff.
He does. So what do you think, everybody? Does sound have the power to change the world? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to The Deep Dive for more mind-blowing explorations into the world of science.
We'll see you next time.
Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep listening to the world around you. You never know what incredible secrets you might uncover.